Hello and welcome to the Magic Mirror Podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Khan the Trinket Mage, and with me is my co-host, 33 Elk.
Hello.
Additionally, we have our other co-host, Salubrious Snail.
Hello.
And we're back, finally. I guess for some people, it hasn't been that long because we just posted that Phil episode, but I have been gone for like a while.
It's been a while since we've actually sat down and recorded the podcast together. I think it's been
like a
3 weeks.
Yeah, at more than 3 weeks, I think. But yeah, definitely a while.
Yeah, it's good to be back, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad we're back to this. It was a fun vacation, but it's good to be back.
Yeah, the gang's back together.
So I was traveling, and one of the places I went was Bangkok, and I went to a local game store, and the guy behind the counter had listened to some episodes of this podcast.
Oh hell yeah.
Which was pretty sweet.
We got worldwide motion.
Sorry, I would have had a more explosive reaction to that, but I was drinking water. I'm still a little hungover.
Elk's always drinking water.
Yeah, those Sunday nights can go crazy, man.
Yeah, when you don't have a real job.
Yeah, the Coors Banquets attacked me last night. I had to drink them all.
Yeah, podcast. We're doing that, right? This episode is going to be about overcooked commander decks. And we'll talk a little bit more about what we mean by that. But you know the type of deck where you've got a little too much going on, maybe, or you're really trying to push a theme that maybe doesn't quite have legs. We'll get into that and also get to some of your questions from the past couple episodes after I thank today's sponsor, Card Castle, the easy way to sort your collection digitally. If you want to start scanning and sorting your cards today, you can click our link below for 1 free month of premium access, and you never even have to pay anyway. You can scan 1,000 cards for free always, which is pretty sweet. Also, if you want to scan your cards faster, you can use their card sorting robot, CardBot, which there's a link to below as well if you want to see if your local game store has one. Thanks to Card Castle for sponsoring the podcast. Okay, so I think we should break this down with maybe some examples first. I have one that I would like to share. I will send the deck list to you, and I will hopefully remember to put a link in the description for viewers to follow along. So I was inspired by Alex's Shroom deck to build a cycling blink deck as well. And I went with Tormod the Desecrator because I love that card, and Sidar Kondo for colors, and also he kind of works with the
zombies.
So the idea is very similar. You cycle your little dorks around, and then you get value from various things. With Tormod, things like Snarling Gorehound will trigger when you cycle and get something back from the yard, and then it plays Tortured Existence to loop the cycling cards, and then you can cycle them multiple times or channel them multiple times. And it's trying to be power 2 or less matters. I don't know why I did that. And also cycling and also a blink deck. And it just does not function at all. It has too much crap going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I see the McCready Lamplight Mayor in here. You got a second copy of your Cigar Condo, basically. Wisp Drinker Vampire. Okay. That's you're a aggro deck, I guess. Yeah.
You know what? That's a good question.
That's what I was thinking too, but then it's just damn, this deck can grind because you have Lull, Eternal Witness, and then a Flicker Engine.
Yes.
Which is basically infinite fog, so you can just
It's a Tormod Astral Slide deck, so it should be an outgrind them deck, but I'm seeing all these elements of
Siege Rhino.
Yeah.
I wanted to blink Siege Rhino. Can you blame me?
I can't,
cool.
But but it's also so funny.
Yeah, this deck got taken apart for exactly the reasons that y'all are picking up on. Is there's a little too much going on. The power 2 or less matters stuff doesn't actually work with the cycling or flicker stuff that much. And then the flicker package doesn't really work too well with the cycling stuff. And it's just kind of wonky. I didn't attempt to fix the deck. I just scrapped it. Well, I think this is a good example of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples?
Well, I was going to say, I think this deck also serves as a good kind of example of, I would call it the rabbit hole deck building method, where you just start going, you have your initial theme, you go, oh, I like 2/2 zombies. Oh, that's kind of small. I could do 2 power or less. That's pretty cool. I've been thinking about those cards. Oh, what could I combine that with? Drain. Can I make this a pressure deck? Oh, it's just where you keep kind of adding on elements and finding different connecting points, which, don't get me wrong, that is very cool. It is fun to find kind of these fulcrums that can connect two different elements of your deck and let you expand out a new way. But you kind of need to make sure that is actually going to work and isn't just kind of pushing you off into distant territory where you have all these things that aren't that well held together.
Yeah, this is actually something I talked about in a recent video like some time ago, where I was talking about like if you have multiple game plans in a deck and sub themes, all of the payoffs and setups should work nicely together. So let's say you have an Aristocrats deck, right? Where you have a bunch of creature sacrificing. That's your main game plan is creature sacrificing. But I want a Mahadi in that creature sacrificing deck. I want a Pitiless Plunderer. Now you have a little bit of a treasure theme. A great inclusion is Mayhem Devil in that sort of theme because it works when you're sacrificing creatures and it works when you're sacrificing treasures. But something that might be bad would be something like a Marionette Master, right? Very good for an artifact sacrificing deck, but if your game plan A is sacrificing creatures and you draw none of the treasure payoffs, then your Marionette Master's sitting there doing nothing.
True.
I would be wary of fulcrum cards. Like you need to make sure that your fulcrum cards and your payoffs are actually like supporting every single part of the plan, not just their own thing.
Yeah, and I think that kind of focus on the completeness of a deck, the total cohesion of it, that kind of brings me to an example of this that I had where I tried to build, it was like a enchantment-based control deck built around Tuvasa the Sunlit as like my central card that could be kind of a draw engine.
Do we want to read Tuvasa? Sorry.
It's a pretty simple enchantress commander. Whenever you cast your first enchantment spell each turn, draw a card. It's in Bant colors. It like gets bigger as well, I think.
Yeah, for each enchantment you have, yeah.
Anyway, this deck was built around Enigmatic Incarnation. Very funny Magic card. Had a Pioneer deck, I think, that was really good with it.
Yeah, you would use the Overlords and sack them and then get a Traxa or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So this is the deck I started building. Enigmatic Incarnation is at the beginning of your end step. You may sacrifice another enchantment. If you do, you search your library for a creature card with a converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrifice enchantment's converted mana cost. So it's like a end step birthing pod enchantment to creature. In theory, this can do a lot of interesting things, but in practice, the things that the deck was doing did not kind of line up in a way that pushed a control-y enchantment game plan. Like I could get out, some like kind of surges in tempo with like a big enchantment creature. I could do things with like all the ones from Duskmourn, but at the same time, like that didn't really add up to a cohesive game plan. That was just kind of a bunch of cool things that the deck can do, but then also probably having stall games out of the games.
Yeah, I mean this card is so cool and it's so enticing, and I have a patron who has been working on an Enigmatic Incarnation list for some time, and they like finally built it in paper after like a couple iterations, and then they had this like realization where like they just built like a 4-color like good stuff deck that happens to have Enigmatic Incarnation, and it's like a thing it can do, but it's like too small to be the main theme of the deck, or it's like too tangential, which is the problem with these one-off cards in EDH.
That's always an issue with decks, I find, is that if you optimize it too much in the place you want to have your like casual jank fun, then you can end up accidentally overshadowing it. I think that optimizing your decks in certain like card draw and stuff where you're not necessarily invested is a pretty great thing to be doing, especially in a deck with a really suboptimal way of like converting into a win. But I feel like if you end up optimizing in that win column with like what you want your strategy to be doing, you can end up overshadowing it a lot and really just killing your decks, what makes it fun for you.
Yeah, things can definitely get too generic. I think what can also happen is if you are building around a specific card, that can be something that you cook and try and like celebrate this card as much as possible. And that can work. Versions of that can work. It obviously works if you build a deck where there's something other than that card that is fun for you, or, the card fits in, but it's not like an always thing that you always need. I think it also works when there are functional copies of the card. Like I have an Astral Slide deck, and that works great, but the fact that there are 2 extra cards that perform approximately the same function as Astral Slide is really, really important to that. And I think when you're building around just one card, it's a lot easier to kind of cook yourself into a corner and start having troubles making interesting things happen.
I think this is a lesson I learned with Humility, which is my favorite Magic card, is like, when you have one unique like wacko effect in your deck, it is really hard to build entirely around that, especially if the effect is requires some deck building requirements like Humility or like Enigmatic Incarnation does, that requires you to have something specific that you really kind of need or want. And it's much easier to play these cards in 99, especially if they're a one-off, as opposed to Astral Side, where there's like effectively 3 versions, is to just have a deck that complements it as a strategy. And then you just slot the card in,
Yes. Yeah. This is exactly what happened in my Kellen deck with Bruna, where I'm like, Bruna is the center of this deck. Bruna the Fading Light is my favorite card in Magic. And I want to meld Brazella every game. The thing is that if Brazella gets exploded, the deck doesn't falter at all. And people who've looked at my Kellen deck understand this. This Kellen deck is a Selesnya Hate Bears deck. Like, it can win without Bruna if it needs to. It's actually relatively generic, the rest of the deck. But the genericism is what makes Bruna shine, because it's a really fragile creature combo, Bruna Gisela. And so it just being any Selesnya Creatures Matter deck, that very hyper generic shell, is what keeps it from just like crumbling and falling apart and exploding the second someone breathes on it.
I think that's kind of what you need to do with, if you have a pet card that's pretty specific, like it doesn't really slot into a general task. I think you just kind of have to figure out the best sort of surroundings for it, where it's going to look good, but then ultimately not build around it necessarily always existing. Like, I think you kind of have to accept that it's just there to be a sometimes tool. You can put in tutors for it, you can put in some recursion for it if that lines up with what the other things your deck is do. But yeah, definitely better to kind of give it a more generic shell than try and create it the perfect launching pad, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to, like, I love hidden commanders. I love making my secret commander a card in the 99, especially if it's not a legendary creature, but it is tricky to do. And if it's not like artifacts, I think have enough tutors that you can get away with it. If you're in blue specifically, if you're not in blue, I don't know what you're doing. And there's a few other things like, there's, what's it called? What's the Boros Kellen? The one that tutors an equipment?
That one is, it's not Inquisitive Prodigy.
The Fade-Blooded,
yeah.
That one you have the tutor in the command zone, so you could make a Sunforger deck or whatever with it. Like there's a few ways to do it, but if it's not a type like that has a lot of tutors for, it's just easier to have your pet card not be your commander effectively and just have it be part of the deck.
I think Sunforger can be a neat central pet card just because it's not it's not that high requirement. Like, really, you need to have targets for it, but it's kind of a fairly conventional low-cost toolbox card, because red and white instants and sorceries that cost, 4 or less, those are just generally pretty solid cards. You're not going to draw your
generous gift,
I don't know, Poros Charm, or sure, you're not going to draw these cards and be like, oh shit, I don't like Sunforger.
Yeah,
like it's just a card. It's just a card.
I have a deck where I've overcooked something before as well. And I feel like this is a different like angle of overcooking, because this deck is very good.
Yeah.
It performs very well for me. And it also doesn't really have a lot of like bad feeling games where there's a lot of pitfalls or anything. This is my Clement the Worrywart deck, which is my wholesome froggy deck. Everyone loves it. Yeah, there's not 2 Emrakuls inside of it. Don't look. But the entire deck's built around Delirium. It's a Simic Delirium deck, and the joke is that you have a Manowar, a cost reduced Emrakul, because you have a bunch of types in the graveyard, and you have Clement. So you play Emrakul, you bounce the Manowar, you play the Manowar, you bounce the Emrakul, you play the Emrakul, you bounce the Manowar, all with Clement's help, which can return a creature with lesser mana value whenever you play a creature. And in this deck, I run a card called Gerard's Hourglass Pennant, which skips extra turns. So you can actually like Mind Slaver lock people with Emrakul in this deck by like bouncing her repeatedly, because they'll skip the extra turn that Emrakul gives them when you control their turn with Emrakul. So the main thing with Emrakul, though, is I don't know if any of y'all have cast it, but when you do and it resolves and you control their turn.
Yeah, playing a turn as badly as possible is quite bad for...
It really doesn't matter if they get an extra turn. They kind of just like stop existing in that game after you've controlled their turn. Like there's not really a lot of coming back from an Emrakul control.
I think it depends a bit. More powerful decks, definitely, if they have like top tier removal and sack outlets.
Oh, God forbid they have Toxic Deluge. God forbid. But like, no, like you'll be playing against the Graveyard Aristocrats player and you go, okay, great, sack all my creatures. I'm going to also Lively Dirge for your Bogart Trawler and exile your graveyard. And oh, your commander was in there too. I'll just leave them in exile. Like it doesn't matter. They get an extra turn. I have optimized this deck to the point where I am creating a win condition that does not matter. Like the deck plays perfectly. Like it's great. It does exactly what I wanted to do. But the thing is the ceiling of the deck was actually just way too high because no one's there. I am alone at the ceiling of this deck because it's just like I don't need to Mindslaver loop you with Emrakul. I already win when I Emrakul you.
I've definitely seen versions of that. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, which is just where you're kind of adding unnecessary components that aren't necessarily required. I think possibly one would just be, I think it's possible to over-invest in the way you win as a control deck.
Yes.
Because in theory, if you're getting like a large degree of control over the game, you shouldn't need that many tools to win the game. You shouldn't need like 10 specific cards or something. I think it depends on how kind of nicely these will slot into the rest of your deck. But I think just finding a way to win that kind of lines up with the control game state you're pushing toward
100%.
generally works better than adding in a bunch of extra win cons. So that's definitely one I've seen.
thought about making a video about this or something. You know, your win cons technically don't matter, assuming you have enough removal and card draw, right? With enough removal and card draw, you can win a commander game with a 1/1.
Yeah, like in an extreme case, like the more time you can make for yourself, the more you're able to win that game. This is exactly what makes Gisela such a good card, right? Despite being a 9/10, I believe, like a 9/10 flyer in a game of Commander is a formidable threat, but it's not like I'm not terrified of that thing immediately, right? It's like that's going to be a problem eventually when I get hit a couple times. Yeah, that's going to suck. Hope I draw removal before then, but I'm not sweating it right now. But if that 9/10 also comes with you can't play like 75% of your deck, oh no, they have the time now, right? So creating time, enough time for your threats to win is a way more valuable thinking than what's my win con. It's like how much pressure can you put on and how much time can you make for yourself is really a way better way of measuring these things than like, do I have a combo? Do I have a win con? Where's my Crater Hoof, right? Like I think, especially if you're doing like a mid-range kind of strategy.
I think something I've noticed is that a common thing that happens in the couple turns before I win with my Shroom deck is I will start gaining a lot of life, typically with Filigree Angel, which can be a massive life gain source in a blank deck. What that does is it basically escalates the size of threat that is required to combat me. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind for control is if you can get to a point in the game where opposing threats need to be very big to actually threaten you, that can make much smaller creatures a much better win con just because you will have a lot more breathing room.
You see this in Modern too, with stuff like Azorius Control and stuff. They'll run 0 creatures and hell, they might not even run like 5 mana Teferi or like Jace at all. And they'll just like attrition you down, and then they're like, I'm paying 6 mana for a 3/2 from my sideboard, and then they start beating you to death with a Kahira. Like all the rest of the text on Kahira just does not matter, except for the fact that it's a 6 mana 3/2 that they always have in their opening hand.
All right, enough about control. Let's imagine a viewer and they have a deck that isn't functioning. It feels like it has too many themes, too much crap going on. What is your advice to them? What do they do with this deck?
You should be looking at each of your themes and what they're offering for the deck. So for instance, if you are building a sort of mid-range style deck, what my favorite place to live, and you have a stacks piece sort of pool here, like a hate bear pool, and then you have a bunch of creature tutors to find those silver bullet hate pieces to give you yourself time. Exactly what I said. You have the tutors to find the hate bear creatures for the specific matchups, so you have time to beat them with your creatures. But then what's this doing here, right? Like, why do you have a treasure package with Gala Greeters and Prosperous Innkeeper? And it's like, oh, it's for ramp. Well, what are you ramping into? Like, that's an issue. Like, you need to be identifying what each package is doing for you and how they're synergizing with the rest. If there's just one that you have because you have Gala Greeters and you're like, I like treasure, so I'm going to put more treasure in. It's like, well, what is the treasure doing for you here in this instance? This is something I've experienced a lot in viewer decks as well with ramp and stuff, where it's just like, they'll have like, I put Nature's Lore, 3 visits, and Rampant Growth in my green deck. Well, why? Your curve ends at 3. And they're like, well, it's good to ramp. And I'm like, not for you. So just really like, I think this is where tags really become valuable as well. Just tagging your deck, getting all the groups together, and then looking at what each of the themes are serving for your game plan and how you're going to win.
I think what you said, I'm going to echo very strongly. I have found that a big issue people will have with decks, and what would make a lot of people's decks unfocused in my mind, is that what cards are actually accomplishing does not line up with what the deck wants to be doing. And this doesn't even need to be different synergy packages. This can be a bunch of different payoffs to a single synergy package. Like if your Cast from Exile package has token making and damage and card advantage and removal of some sort, if you have just all of these different routes of payoff, then sure, they're all tied in with this central element synergy thing that you have, but they're doing different things from your deck. And at the end of the day, your deck still needs to have a game plan. It still needs to be doing something that has a shape. And a bunch of tokens might not do a whole lot for a game plan unless you have things to pump them with, or things to do with them, or things to, etc. So I think it's easy to kind of grab every payoff in sight, whether that be ramp, card draw, tokens, etc., and not think about what that outcome actually gives you deck.
But Snail, Araxa, Empress of Mars, says whenever I cast a spell from anywhere other than my hand, it needs to go in my Cast from Exile deck, even though I can't use tokens in any way. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you make a 2/2 red alien. It's exactly what he said. It makes a creature token. I don't have Goblin Bombardment or Impact Tremors or anything. These 2/2s are just going to sit there and do nothing. But I need it in my deck because it makes token when to cast from exile. I need it.
The squad, all the aliens.
I need to get my guys.
I need the boys. What am I going to do without my 2/2 cheerleaders after every time I cast a spell?
I want to give slightly different advice. I do think that evaluating the themes and picking which ones to keep and which themes to cut and making sure things are a little bit more cohesive in a deck is a totally fine solution. But I want to suggest scrapping the deck. Now, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but sometimes when I have like a deck that just does like too much crap, I'll rethink it and go, all right, what if I took one of these themes into a different tangential colors? This is what I did with the Abzan list that will bring it full circle. With the Abzan list that I had at the start of this was I decided, okay, I like the power 2 or less crap I have in here. Let's just do that. And I cut green entirely from the deck, just went Orzhov and put McCready, Lamplight Mayor in the command zone. And that kind of fixed my problems. I picked one of the themes and decided to just flesh that out into a full deck and scrap the original deck idea. And, because in theory, I liked all of these themes. That's why I put them together in one deck. And it turned out to be a deck that I really enjoyed. And I played for a while. It was pretty fun. So there's no shame in just deciding that a deck is dumb and bad and you don't like it anymore. It's totally reasonable to just be like, I'll just make a new deck.
Yeah, this kind of echoes back to advice I give pretty often, which is just, if you are enjoying a part of your deck, but the deck overall doesn't feel great, you can just grab that element and then build a new deck for it now, or just like put it aside. Say, okay, I want to do some sort of blink deck later, or I want to do some sort of deck around this card or that card. You can just kind of keep that tucked away for later and then build a more enjoyable home for that thing.
Yeah, I think it was you, Snail, who made the video, your pet decks like deserve a better home.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah.
Or your pet cards, rather. Yeah. And I could not agree with that more. And that's exactly how I end up building stuff. Like, I'm not cross-pollinating an Emrakul, Bruna, Gisela, Worst Fears deck, although that would be fucking sick, actually. But no, like I think that a lot of people get lost in sauce. Like, I want all this fun stuff, hooray! And it's also their first commander deck. And it's just like, well, no, you can have 3 or 4 decks that do all of these things way better than all of these mismatched themes together. It's a lot more fun for you, presumably, if your deck functions and you don't draw like plan A and C that don't work together at all, but you wanted both of them because you like them. Like, you're able to own multiple commander decks, especially if you're proxy.
It is very easy to throw all of your favorite cards into a pile and then go, this is it, this is my deck. But then, not all your favorite cards play well together.
And if you do make a pile like that, it might need to be a pile with a fairly generic core to it.
Yeah, or yeah, you're building like a good stuff deck or something like that,
I would never put good stuff in my deck.
which is its own thing. Actually, I've been brainstorming a video about good stuff decks. Maybe we'll talk about it on the podcast at some point. Good stuff decks.
Yeah.
You see, the real peak is when you build a good stuff deck out of bad stuff.
That's the vision. That's the vision.
That's the vision. That's my vision. Don't steal my video idea. Nobody out there, not you two either.
Dude, I always put good stuff in my deck except for where I want the deck to actually be funny. God, we're insufferable.
Not everybody can be as cool of a deck builder as I am.
Oh yeah, look at how awesome we are. God, I understand why people don't like us.
I mean, that's definitely such a thing that like people have, right? Where they're like, oh, I'm the greatest deck builder of all time. And, it's like fine to think that your decks are cool and stuff, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of people can make that too much of their personality. I say, somewhat ironically, I guess.
See, here's the real advice. When you're like playing the deck and just like being a commander player, try not to feel like that. But when you're building the deck, let yourself cook. Let yourself be like, I am a deck building god. I am bringing everything into this deck. This is going to be amazing. And then just be normal when you're playing it.
No, that's exactly me. I think I was telling, like, when I brewed my Unspeakable deck, I was like messaging some of my friends from my like old Seattle playgroup. And I'm like, guys, I cooked with this. I'm going crazy. I've never made a video about that deck. Like, I've never actually I mentioned it here and there on like a video as an example of something, but like, I'm not like showing it off.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people think we go to like war against the generic and stuff when in reality, it's like, I don't care what you play. That like if you're having fun, that's great.
Yeah, my thing is always I would recommend everyone.
And that doesn't work for me, but that's what makes this game super beautiful. Is that like everyone likes something different.
Try something new. Like if you've only ever built dragon decks and you've never done anything else ever, like maybe try something else. You might like it. Like I think it is important to try and like build different things and get out of your comfort zone. I think it is a fun, rewarding experience. But if you're like, I love
Dragon Johnny.
I love that. Like that's fine. I'm not gonna like.
I wish all Dragon players were Dragon Johnny. Yeah, no, it's just like it's so tough sometimes because it's like we'll say something along the lines of like, oh, I don't really have fun with this play pattern, and then people will hear that and say, well, you hate me and you think this is a stupid way of building a deck, and it's like no. Not at all. I think we can only work from our experiences. And then people hear that and they go, well, this guy's a fucking elitist for having this opinion and broadcasting it. I'm like, I don't know. You can have fun with anything. It's fun.
It's literally, what's that ProZD video? That means you're bad for liking that thing. Like, it's okay to have different opinions about Magic the Gathering. It's the same thing when like, we disagree with something, people are like, oh, I can't believe, are they still friends or whatever? It's like, it's such a, I don't care.
Friendship
this isn't
ending.
like the end of the world. I just like Magic. Yeah. But I'm going to end our friendship with this takedown video, Alex. Don't you worry.
No, it's okay. We're both control players. We have that in common.
Yeah, true. We are moving on to the Beseech the Mirror section. This is where you beseech us for answers. All you have to do is put mirror in your question here on YouTube or on Spotify, or you can message us on socials. People have done that. I don't know if they've tagged you, Elk, if you've seen any people do that. I've seen some people tag me with mirror questions. I haven't answered any of those, but I do see them. So you can do that. Links below. What's stopping us from posting on Amazon Music? You can post podcasts on Amazon Music?
Amazon Music is always telling me to.
Does anybody listen to podcasts on Amazon Music? Is that even worth our time? I didn't know they had podcasts there.
How much money would we get from it?
I don't know.
A nickel, maybe? I don't know.
Hopefully more than Spotify.
Look, Spotify is theoretically paying us $1.4 billion. It just needs to clear.
I emailed the support and I was like, I just need to check if this isn't a bot. Can you pass the Turing test? And I got like this generic ass response that didn't even like answer that question. And I was like, oh no, I'm in a bot loop. I have to like find a way out of this. I hate you, Spotify, so much. Yusuf, you can leave all that crap in too. Fuck Spotify.
Yeah. For sure. Oh my God. Do you want to tell the viewers the story? Because I don't think we've ever said it on podcast yet.
The only story is that Spotify's customer service is like dog water, and I've always had problems with it, and they have not paid us a penny. Like, every month they're like, "Oh, your channel's monetized." Which by the way, so if you're listening to Spotify and you get an ad, we're owed money for those ads. They haven't paid us anything. It's not even like they just keep emailing me saying,
yeah, we're in like the 12th team in Spotify headquarters.
We're saying this to another team. I'm like, there can't be this many teams.
Exactly.
This is crazy. I bet they wouldn't do this to Joe Rogan. They probably paid him.
The entire Spotify headquarters is entirely dedicated to resolving the Magic Mirror podcast crisis
we're
now.
Almost as big as Rogan. Come on.
I know. We're like the next podcast there, I think. I've actually never used Spotify. I have no clue what it's like as a user. Oh, this is maybe a fun question. Okay. JC Alex 9898 asks, Mirror Mirror, I cast Deflecting SWAT, redirecting your Deflecting SWAT to my Deflecting SWAT to ask, have you three been inspired by one another in deck building? I once tried building Shiko Paragon of the Way, an abandoned deck for other builds. Wait, is this related to one of our decks? Oh, because they wanted Astral Slide and Wild Research in the same deck, which is awesome. It's so cool. Yeah, have we been inspired by each other?
I feel like I have taken inspiration from Elk's synergy mindset because I don't know, most of my decks, aside from my Shroom one, have been pretty generic generally. And so I think I've tried to use some of the methods there to get a little more synergistic, get more sub-themes in there, get more kind of overlapping stuff that can turn into an engine.
Oh, thank you. That's actually so sweet. God, I feel like an asshole because I don't think I've done anything from you two at all in my decks.
And that's the end of the friendship.
Yeah. God, I'm just trying to think about like what I've learned from you guys. And the answer is like, I used to watch your guys' videos a lot. And then I started like hanging out with you guys and I don't watch your videos.
I mean, that's honestly very fair.
Like now that we're coworkers, it's weird. It's like, I don't know. I don't like hearing your voice coming out of the fucking YouTube. I think I actually got most of my deck building stuff. Like if I did learn a lot from YouTube, it's mostly from Snail, where it's like, I used to just like kind of autopilot a lot, but I feel like you do teach a lot of intention in deck building. Like, why is this here versus, you know, like asking why is this here for every card versus just like brainlessly jamming like the staples in. It's like, what are these doing for me? Right. Like, I feel like your videos actually talk on that a lot, or at least a lot of the older ones, especially when I was still watching.
Yeah, that was a big thing in my first like year. Was I would make a big like lesson was just look at your deck more, think about your deck more, break the heuristics. So I'm glad that came through.
I play a lot more lands than I used to.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, before I started doing Magic podcast stuff and watching Snail, I was like a 37 land Andy. I am a hard 40 guy now. And well, maybe not hard 40, but like I have like anywhere from 38 to 39, and the 38s have land cyclers in it or something like that.
The Abzan cycling deck that I scrapped was inspired by the Shroom Slide deck specifically. So I mean, that's just one example. I feel like honestly feel like Elk and I kind of already build decks in similar-ish ways. A lot of like tutor chains, a lot of like engines. So I feel like we have similar deck building styles already. Like when I see an Elk deck, I'm like, I could have maybe thought of that, to be honest. It looks like something I would build.
The difference between me and you, Con, is I build decks with creatures in them, and you build decks with like artifacts. And instants.
Otherwise, really, but your Cormella deck is like definitely something that is very similar to Grixis lists I've made in the past.
Why is that?
The Cormella deck, I hate thinking about it right now. I'm doing a little fucking challenge where every time I like have a really good game with Cormella, I just increase the mana value of the deck more.
Oh, hell
like
yeah.
I'll cut like a 2-drop or something. My most recent change was I cut mana rocks for the Strixhaven cards that let you discard them for 2 mana to make a treasure token. And I was like, there's no way on earth I'm ever casting Elemental Masterpiece. For those that don't know at home, rightfully so, Elemental Masterpiece is a 7-mana sorcery, create 2 4/4s, and then you can pay is it hybrid, discard it to make a treasure. And this almost single-handedly won my last game. I cast it and I started Clone Legioning myself, and it was working. I dealt like 30 damage. It was crazy.
I had an Hello the Painter deck with Elemental Mastery and worst fears and all of that in the deck so I can copy it. I've built like the same deck as
You see, this is the thing you do, Con. This is a perfect segue, making this like topical. Is like whenever I see a deck from you, you will play a card, and my gut reaction is that card fucking sucks. It's like every single time you'll put a piece of cardboard on the table, I'll read it, I'll go like, this is the worst card I think I've ever read, and then somehow you'll make it like threatening, and it pisses me off every single time. And last time
the Dino DNA.
That card's okay. Come on.
Yeah, last time it was with Dino DNA, you motherfucker.
Were you in that? I think you were in that game. I can't remember.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I played Dino DNA, and then Elk was like, "This card sucks. Why is it in your deck?" And I just kept making 6/6 copies of, I think, Solemn Simulacrum or some random thing like that, and it just kept ramping me. And I was like doubling the trigger with Tawanos, and I just kept making like 2 6/6s, 3 6/6s, and then eventually Elk had to use spot removal on it, which was awesome.
Did I use spot removal? I think I was playing Iara. I think I could not fucking touch that thing.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Okay, no, it was a different game from the same day.
Yeah, you just won it because I was mono black and I was just sitting there with my fucking mouth agape, just like drooling on my playmat as you're making an army of infinite 6/6s. Like, well, great. I think something else had happened that game that just like absolutely prevented any of my life gain BS from working too. So I was just sitting there with my thumb up my ass while you made an army of 6/6s. I was like, this shouldn't work. But I got put in gay baby jail that game.
That was a good question. Thank you, Spotify user. Mirror, what is your favorite token? And this user, Olaf the Moose, 4 numbers, says that theirs are Power Stones.
So my favorite token, Power 4 type elemental. It's from the Hoof Prince of the Stag. It's a really good art. Yeah, it's Hoof Prince of the Stag.
Oh, you don't like the original Lorwyn one?
The new one from Commander 2020 forward.
That one's cool.
It's okay. I like it. I like both of them, but I like the new one a lot. I like the lightning and stuff. It's funny looking.
I don't know. I kind of like the weird border of the old one.
I do also like Farrakha snakes.
I like blood tokens.
Nice.
I like them in effect, and I just like the idea that it's just that blood is an artifact and it's a token.
Ooh.
Doesn't really make sense, but I like it.
I didn't like the original blood token art, but then we got blood token art from the Big Score. And it's like a cool looking vial that's like triangular and not like the spherical vial, not spherical, but cylindrical vial. And it's like, damn, that blood looks sick as hell. And then we got the chum from the Jaws as well.
I think my favorite token is probably clues. I kind of like how clues are, this not very good token. Like 2 mana to crack them to draw a card is like kind of bad. I love that they don't require to tap, so they're kind of fun to have like a dinky like artifact in play. You can tap them 2 other things that require you to tap artifacts, and then also still pay the mana and draw the card, which is fun. So I like clue tokens. I also like that they didn't go super overboard like they did with treasures, because treasures, there was like way too much treasure crap. Clues, I feel like, are still like pretty underexplored.
I also feel like clues just inherently aren't that strong. Like 2 mana to draw a card is just a really fair rate, so it's kind of hard for them to be overpowered compared to something like a treasure.
Okay, but like, what's your favorite clue art though?
Oh, my favorite clue art? Honestly, I like that they're very diverse, but I'm going back to the old token frame because I think they're kind of funny. But I like the original Shadows over Innistrad clue. The one that's like the weird spire that just sticks out. It's kind of awesome.
I like the Bloody Feather one. That one's just kind of metal.
Yeah, that one's sick.
The Bloody Feather is like another good one. Yeah, they're all really good. I love that like it was part of the story. Each clue is like something Tamio is like writing down in their journal to figure out what the hell's going on.
I like the one with the shattered stained glass, with the Avacyn on it.
This is very cool.
We also got the sick one from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I really like that clue art, the one with the skeleton.
That one's sweet too. Yeah, I also like that a clue can be kind of almost anything. So it allows a lot of diversity of it. It's good for storytelling in a token, which is fun.
Kind of hard to have a blood token be as many things.
Yeah, that's why there's a lot of reprints of the same art.
Yeah.
Commanders you want to see less of and commanders you want to see more of? You have any strong opinions
I
on
want to
that?
see less of whatever the audience likes and more of whatever the audience hates.
That's cool and epic. I agree.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. This could be a fun one. Tech Curb asks, Mirror, mirror, I give floral spasm control of me during my next turn to beseech thee. What are some of the funniest and or obscure cards that you've lost a game
There's some
to?
really good ones, but I cannot think of them.
There was something my friend John played that made me lose my fucking mind. I think it was they came from the pipes in his Satiro like free cast cantrip deck. It just manifests Dread twice, and then whenever a face down creature enters, you draw. This thing is an incredible value engine, especially if you flicker it, bounce it yourself, back to your hand, replay it. Like it draws a lot of cards. But when my friend John played it, he said they came in the pipes, and I started dying because he would never ever say it any other way. And I need to make this abundantly clear. John is perhaps the most normal human being you could ever possibly meet. He lives with his wife. He programs thermostats. Like this dude is like the vanilla white dude. He's the most normal guy in the world. So just him going like, I bounce, they came in the pipes back to my hand and I replay it. This dude just keeps coming in pipes and it destroys me. He exploded me that game and it made me laugh my ass off the entire time because why would you call it that? That sucks so bad. Anyway, most things that John do elude me. That's just an example of one.
I had a patron play a deck with the commander was like Rafik of the Many, and it was all about like messing with land types. And they played Angry Mob, which is white 2 for a human with trample. Its power and toughness is 2+*, 2+*. And during your turn, Angry Mob's power and toughness are equal to 2 plus the number of swamps your opponents control. During turns other than yours, it is just a 2/2. So with Urborg, it becomes power and toughness 2 plus the number of lands your opponents have in total. And because they were playing Rafika the Many as their commander, they could give it double strike. And then it has trample, and it's like massive. And it's just this random weird card from like the dark. It's kind of awesome.
I'm trying to remember the exact way that I lost this game, but it was a Lier Disciple of the Drowned, very weird suboptimal deck. And it did like a storm turn at instant speed and won with some sort of mill nonsense.
How
it was
recent was this? Was it like post?
This was Atlanta.
Oh, okay. So I guess maybe they had
Leyline of
Leyline of Anticipation.
Yeah.
Lear is pretty neat. I've seen some people brew around with like a High Tide combo deck because you just go like High Tide, Flashback, High Tide, and then all your untappers you can flashback. And you can totally do that. It's pretty neat.
This person did something not that different from that, but I got the sense that was not the intention of the deck, and it just happened that all of their things were falling perfectly in line, which was kind of funny.
That's awesome. There's a textless promo for this. Whoa, that looks sweet. What the hell? Lier, Disciple of the Drowned.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
so
there is.
cool.
It was in Quips and Guac's textless video. Yeah, it was a store championship card. And it was one of the cards they had to have me guess in order to like figure out like what it did or not. And I got them all right mostly. I forgot haste on the Reveler, whatever his name is. That was a fun game though.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, that Lear's $36. I mean, he's sexy as fuck.
See, but I hate that it's textless though. Like that just makes it immediately less attractive.
You don't know what Lear does from memory?
I know.
For a card with that much text, it sucks to be textless.
Amateurs.
I don't know a funny way to end this podcast. We should just have Yusuf like say his favorite token or some shit.